Yeas are 427. The nays are 1. 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
The Epstein Files Transparency Act was just approved by Congress, the House of Representatives. Who would imagine that? 427 to 1. Now, I know you're probably wondering, who was that one that voted against it? Stay tuned for that. I'll expound on that a little bit later and identify who that person was. But boy, you don't want to miss this. Finally, we're seeing bipartisanship work in Congress, as it should be. Just in case you're wondering who I am, because this is music to my ears to see this work in the way it is. Because I'm a former police officer. I'm a former district court juvenile officer and commissioned deputy sheriff. I'm a former juvenile justice specialist in the state of Oklahoma, in which basically fancy name for juvenile probation and parole. And the last 9 of those years, I supervised 5 counties. So you have Congress who makes the law, but also you have people like me who enforce the law. So I've got a show for you today, because just hearing how these congressmen came together arguing their case. And boy, you're talking about listening to it, you can't help but feel the passion. And this is history. So stay tuned. You want to hear this, because when I listened to it, it just got me fired all up. It gave me hope, but also it showed me who has the true power of the 3 branches of government. So stay tuned. You don't want to go anywhere, because you still have to hear my commentary, baby, and it's going to be a good one.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, may I inquire as to how much time I have?
You have 17 minutes remaining.
I yield myself 2 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, today's an extraordinary day in this chamber. If my colleagues will vote for this measure, we'll see justice triumph over politics. Truth will triumph over deception and obfuscation. Transparency will triumph over dark money. Partisanship will fall away to bipartisanship. Grassroots, the people, will reclaim the people's house with this vote. It's going to be a victory for survivors, not just survivors of the Epstein sex trafficking scandal, the 1,000 survivors that exist. Some of them are victims. They're no longer alive. Some have committed suicide. They share one thing in common. Their youth was robbed from them. Much of their lives were robbed from them, but they're claiming it back. We're going to help them claim that back. But it's not just a victory today, if this vote prevails, for those survivors. It's a victory for every person, man or woman, boy or girl, who's been victimized sexually in this country. Anybody who's been a victim of sexual assault, or maybe they've been victimized by a family member. Maybe it's not a billionaire, but they're all waiting and watching to see what we do today. They're wondering, if I go to mom or dad, will anything happen? If I go to the sheriff, will anything happen? Well, we have a chance today to make something happen, something that's not happened, something that should have happened decades ago, and that is to get justice for these victims and survivors and transparency for America. That's what this vote is about today.
Today was an extraordinary day, because they finally came together and broke away from party control and thought about the victims, Americans, to do what is right, to protect Americans, to not just make our lives better in some way. Finally, Representative Massey, thank you. And Ro Connor and Marjorie Taylor Greene and the others, thank you. But where does it go from here? Will we stand on the side of righteousness? Will we stand on the side of the people, the American people?
I proudly rise today in a bipartisan effort to release the Epstein files finally, after 5 administrations have covered it up. Earlier today, I attended the press conference where the survivors, they're not victims, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse and sex trafficking told their stories. And they told stories about how it started back in 1991, 1996, and they continued on through the decades. And they told stories about how they told someone and tried to get help. They told the FBI, and they weren't listened to. And they told law enforcement, and no one did anything. And these women don't just number a few. These women number around 1,000 women. And they are victims of something that's unthinkable. And this should have never, ever happened. This was the biggest fight I think I've seen in Washington, D.C. This is my 5th year here. And this was a fight that we should have never had to wage. It should have been the easiest thing for every single member of Congress. It should have been the easiest thing for the Speaker of the House. It should have been the easiest thing for the President of the United States to release all the information, every single file, on behalf of these American women.
Marjorie is right. It should have been easy for the Speaker of the House or the President to do what needed to be done to bring justice for these victims, all these victims. We're talking about 1,000 people, women, girls. And you know, me being former law enforcement, retired from that field, and seeing all those victims, this makes me think about the time of investigating crimes against children. I remember those days. And then when I see somebody like Mike Johnson going out of the way, beyond exception, and closing the House, and then we get out and say the Democrats closed down the House. It's ridiculous. Come on, folks. You can't fall for that.
These American women aren't rich, powerful elites. They do not have someone paying for their airline tickets or paying for their trips or paying for their expenses every time they try to do something to get this information out. These are your average Americans. And you want to know what the Epstein files represent, the cover-up represents to average Americans? It represents the failures of the federal government and Congress to the American people. And that is what people rose up about in 2024. They wanted and demanded transparency from their government and for Americans finally to be put first. And today, with this vote, we are finally putting these victims and these survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and the cabal of rich, powerful elites that expands not just here in the United States of America, but to other countries as well. We're putting them last. And that is exactly what Americans want. You see, for far too long, Americans have been put last. And they're sick of it. They're sick and tired of it. And this is why they don't trust Congress. This is why they don't trust the government. And here's the problem. All of these women who have suffered in shame for years and years and years, women who were terrified, women who were intimidated, women who were threatened, just like Virginia Giuffre. And now she's dead. And these women should have never faced that, for this information to come out. And we, especially the 4 Republican members of the House of Representatives, we should have never faced intimidation and threats for us to get this vote to come to the floor. Never forget, there were 4. Thomas Massie, myself, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. We had to sign a discharge petition, and we had to fight through intimidation, and we had to endure it for months to push that discharge petition finally to 218 to get this vote to come out. This is what the American people are sick of, and rightfully so. Now, where does this go from here? The question will remain, will the Department of Justice release all the information? Will a judge in New York release the information? Will the CIA release the information? And will foreign governments release their information? Or will this continue after this vote today be a cover-up? A cover-up of the rich, powerful elites that bond together in sex and human trafficking abuse and all types of global business that enriches them but never serves Americans. The American people will know, and the victims, actually the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, will know because they know the list of names. And I remain dedicated to my promise to read those names here on the House floor if those women ever find them in a place that it needs to be done. I yield back.
Marjorie said it should have been the easiest thing for her colleagues to do. And I agree, it should have been. But of course we know it wasn't. She calls it a cover-up. And she also talks about the fright that it put these women in. You know, the threats that caused some to commit suicide. Can you imagine that? You're so terrified for decades, you never could get this off your mind, wondering, you know, looking over your shoulder, knowing you better keep your mouth shut because the people that you got trafficked to. The American people are sick of it, just as Marjorie said. We all are. And it shouldn't be between parties, really. It should come down to right and wrong. It comes down to obeying the law or defying the law. Now the question is, will the government release? Of course, we know it goes to the Senate. But if it's approved there, unless there's a strategy there to try to prevent it, and I wouldn't put it past Mike Johnson to try to talk to the senators to change their minds, even though he voted for it today. But there's one that did not vote for it. And I'll tell you who he is, or who he is, of course, a little later. Stay tuned.
I want to thank the generosity of Jim McGovern, Representative McGovern, for granting us this time. I'm embarrassed for my own party today. I'm embarrassed we withheld signing in, swearing in a duly representative of the people for 49 days just to avoid this vote that's finally going to happen today. I'm embarrassed that my own party isn't going to yield me time to debate this, even though they say they support it, and I authored it. They don't even want to yield me time to debate this during the bill debate. But I'm thankful. Let me tell you who I'm thankful to. These three brave women, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mason, Lauren Boebert, they have been threatened. They have been intimidated. Physically, politically, it's disgusting. And not by the far left. They have been intimidated by people in our own party. And for what? For seeking justice for these victims. So my hat's off. I congratulate them for standing strong. I've always wondered, where were the Republican men during this battle? We've taken 5 months. These three women and I have had to drag our party to this floor today to even vote on this. And Ro Khanna is the most to be thanked here. In an extraordinary display of bipartisanship, he did not hesitate when I asked if we wanted to bring this bill to the floor together, if he would stand in the trenches with me. He said yes.
Thomas Massie said that he was embarrassed by his own party. Think about that. You're embarrassed of your own party. And it took 3 other Republican women to join him because the Democrats were already on board, because it's about the victims. And it took 3 women to join. And these folks received intimidation and threats from their own party. Think about that. Sounds pretty sick, doesn't it?
Gentlelady from South Carolina is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my colleagues today for the time, Mr. McGovern and Mr. Khanna, for the 5 minutes on the floor to speak about an issue that is not political for me. Helping the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and his horrific, gruesome, brutal sex trafficking ring is deeply personal. And while we often have many disagreements about a lot of issues, maybe most issues, today they are allowing us to speak on the floor, and I want to thank my colleagues, Congressman Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Lauren Boebert, the four of us making history today over the discharge petition and delivering justice for those who have desperately fought for it for, in some cases, almost 30 years. I wore white today because I wanted to reflect on the innocence of the young women who had their innocence stolen from a demon named Jeffrey Epstein, from demons, friends of his, rich and powerful people who stole their innocence as young as 14 years old. It was taken from them, and they've never gotten it back. I'm also wearing white today to recognize the courage that it takes for women to come forward, the sacrifices to them personally, professionally, financially, the embarrassment, the humiliation, the shame that we still deliver on the backs of women who have been brutalized, who've been raped, who've been assaulted. The shame that the media pours over their heads, that their colleagues, their friends, their neighbors, their loved ones, because you come forward and because you talk about sexual assault, you are not a slut. It's not because of what you wore. You're not a whore. But that's how women are treated, and you're not lying. And I want every woman to know, every Epstein survivor to know, every woman across the country who is a survivor, who is a victim of assault, that today, we see you. And this fight and this vote tonight, I see it is about the Epstein victims, but it's about much more than the Epstein victims. This is about the powerless, taking power away from the very powerful. This is about giving women who never had a voice, giving a voice to the voiceless. This is about their sacrifice. This is about having and recognizing their courage. This is about justice for the Epstein victims, but it's also about hope. Earlier this year, I gave a speech right here on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, detailing trauma that I experienced, endured, and am a survivor of, that I accidentally uncovered 2 years ago, almost to the day. And today, I still don't have justice, like millions of women across the country. When I spoke out, I got attacked. When I spoke out, I was shamed. When I spoke out, I was defamed and smeared, and that goes on today, right now, in the present. God sure has a funny way of working through us. I, like many of the Epstein survivors and many other survivors across the country, I don't think I will ever heal from the destruction my abuser did to me. But I can heal by being a vessel and being a voice for all those who need it, and that's why we are here today. That is why I will never abandon a single survivor ever, and I will never waver. I spent my morning talking to law enforcement and others about another potential Jane Doe number 5, who may be another sexual assault victim in the case that I uncovered 2 years ago. It's very difficult for us to come forward, but I want to thank the women who have, the Epstein victims, the victims in the case that I uncovered. I want to thank all of you for being a voice.
She said, it's about the powerless. They gave a voice today for the powerless. And it shouldn't be such a challenge the way as it has been. Are we able to trust our Department of Justice again? Because it doesn't appear that they're there to protect the American people. Let's use our common sense. Apparently, there is a cover-up going on. But today was a monumental step, an achievement, an historic moment. But what will history record? In this country, 1 in 5 actually, women are raped in this country. 20% of reported crimes of rape in this country. Imagine it's probably more those that go unreported out of fear, retaliation, or shame. It's amazing what people think in their minds when it comes down to them being victims. Here's some additional news. While the making of this video, the Senate came out and immediately pledged to pass the bill and sent it immediately to the president. Congress overwhelmingly approves releasing Epstein files. After a near unanimous House vote, the Senate agreed to quickly clear the bill for President Trump's signature. Will he sign it? Are you aware that the most powerful branch of government, of the 3 branches of government, is not the president, it's not the Supreme Court, but it's actually Congress? Think about it. In Congress, you have a large volume of people, over 400 people, that come together from all walks of life from all over the country, compared to 1 president and 9 Supreme Court justices. Congress has the power, actually, and it seems that Mike Johnson, who's the leader right now, the Speaker of the House of Congress, has yielded his power over to somebody else. I've been in law enforcement as a career. I can spot a flunky when I see one. And think about this. The president cannot get rid of anyone in Congress, nor can those in the Supreme Court, actually. But check this out. Those in Congress can get rid of the president. And they can also get rid of those in the Supreme Court and other federal judges. Think about that. See the power that Congress has when they come together as a body and utilize their power. They're the strongest of all 3 branches. Like, I know they say 3 equal co-branches of government, but Congress keeps everybody in check. Of course, the Supreme Court, they interpret the law. And of course, the president's supposed to carry out the laws in the Constitution. And you know, me being a former government state employee, and the thing about it is, make me think about our State Department of Justice, our attorney generals. Also, just like the FBI on the federal level, all states have their bureaus of investigation. And they could come together and even investigate the governor and all those within the state agency. Shouldn't it be that way with our federal government? Think about it. It used to be. And here's what you've been waiting for if you haven't found out already. And who was that one person that voted not to pass the bill? And that person was Representative Clay Higgins. Representative Clay Higgins. He was that lonely voice that voted against 427 to 1. Now you know. But what's next? Will everyone hold up, or will there be a different strategy now going forward? Will the files actually be released? Let's hope our people do the right thing, especially when it comes down to the law. Robert Wilkins, your BT dispatcher, bringing you news and commentary with a different flavor. If you like what I'm presenting here, go ahead, give me a thumbs up, baby. And go ahead and subscribe to this channel. And that way you won't miss out on anything that I post. And you never know what it's going to be next. But I can guarantee you, based on the news what's going on today, it's going to be something. Because there's something scary that's on the horizon that we're going to have to deal with. And today was a great victory, but it's not over yet. Stay tuned, stick with me, and I'll see you next time.